Internet! Hello and welcome to the first episode of Koi Cubed of February 2021. We are somehow into February. Times are strange. This isn't connecting. It did connect. It is having all sorts of... We're just having times, you guys. Why is my little corner of the internet so cantankerous? What is it about my setup that the world hates so very much? Hello, dear Koi Pond. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're doing at least better than my internet. For what it's worth, every place I've moved, every device I've used, same stuff. The only thing I haven't changed is my laptop. So maybe that's next. Maybe I'll get a new laptop at some point in the year 2021, and that's the last variable. And other than that, I'm just cursed. Hello, welcome to Koi Cubed. This is the first episode in the month of February. It is somehow already February, which means we're about to do a lap. We're catching up to our pre-COVID timeline. All of our Facebook memories are about to be of the inside of our homes from a year ago, and here we are. And yes, the feud of the year winner should have been Koi versus Internet. I nominated it. It got many votes. Didn't even make the cut, didn't even make the show. I see you, Christian. I'm on to you. We also got rid of promo of the year, which, frankly, I'll be doing less enthusiastic promos this year. I'll tell you what, without the award, bah. I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to talk all sorts of stuff today. We're going to talk a little bit of Schmoedown draft later on in the episode. We're going to talk about the Wakanda show coming to Disney+. We're going to talk about an alternate Deadpool 3 that we were teased this week for the coolest of reasons. Really love the Deadpool 3 story. We're going to talk about the Snydercut with a release date and an adjustment to what the Snydercut actually is. We got Static Shock coming to HBO Max. We got Matrix 4 getting a title. We got lots and lots of news. And then, of course, I will give you lovelies comic book recommendations as well as streaming recommendations at the end of the episode. And we'll talk a little WandaVision, but we're going to save the WandaVision for the tail end of the show for spoiler reasons, because we're going to go all the way in on spoilers. So that is today's show. Let's get into it. All right. First off, a smaller trailer I want to raise awareness for. I talk about blockbusters a lot. I talk about comic movies a lot. I talk about the big spectacle stuff a lot. But man, I love me a good indie film. 2018 was really hard for me because this little movie called Blindspotting came out, and it blew my mind. Blindspotting is one of the most life-changing movies I've ever seen. To this day, I think about it at least once a week. It is very impactful, very important. But you'll also notice 2018 was the year that Into the Spider-Verse and Infinity War came out, and that is why I have a hard time with ranking movies, with lists, with top year lists, because all three of those films are tied for first in their own way. They're just so different. I bring all this up to say the director of Blindspotting is making another film, has made another film, and it got a release date of this summer, and it had its first trailer this week. It is called Summertime. Summertime looks incredible. I am so very excited for this movie called Summertime. It's a love letter to Los Angeles, my city. I'm a Boston boy for life, but LA has become home. I love Los Angeles. I really love the feel of this movie, the art, the poetry of it, the flow of the film. From the trailer alone, I haven't seen the movie, but all of it looks like my exact kind of movie. I'm really excited for it. So check out the trailer for Summertime. I want more people to see movies like this. I want movies like this to get their time in the sun. Summer, pun intended. It's really, really, really exciting for me. So check out the trailer for Summertime. Highly recommend Blindspotting, and the creators of Blindspotting are doing a Blindspotting show, which I'm also absolutely elated about. So that movie is doing very well for a lot of people. Before we get to the Black Panther stuff, there are multiple GameStop movies in development simultaneously. Not entirely surprising. I really don't expect there to be, not 100 movies about quarantine. I think we're going to get rom-coms, we're going to get action movies, we're going to get dramas, we're going to have way too many movies about this time, and I think they're going to do the Wolf of Wall Street thing with GameStop, and it's going to be fascinating. I don't know how much you have been following it. If you follow me on social media, there's lots of interesting elements to this story as it develops. I'm very much a... how politely say, fuck the 1% kind of gentleman. I think wealth inequality is terrifying. I think it's one of the ways our country is broken. And I think this entire situation has shown that the system needs to be fixed from the ground up. The way we're living and the way people that are much less fortunate than myself are living is unacceptable. So I really am excited to see what happens with this real life story of what's going on with Wall Street Bets, with what's going on with the GameStop stocks, with what's going on with stonks themselves. I don't have a lot of money, so I'm not invested financially deeply, but I'm invested very emotionally deeply. I put what I could into fighting this bullshit, and I'm holding strong. I'm holding the line with the stocks I do have, even though today was a rough day for it. So I'm very excited about a movie telling the tale of something we're living through. I'm very aware that we keep living through history. It's been almost a year of us living through historical events. Obviously, every day has history in its own way, but historical events don't usually happen this many times in a year. We're going to have lots of films about the marches and about the Capitol riots and about the quarantine, and now we've got another one, and it's just really interesting to live through this much history. So I'm excited. I'm very much in that Aaron Sorkin, Amy Sherman-Palladino wheelhouse. Those are the kind of movies I enjoy, so I really hope one of them spearheads one of these movies. So far, they're not attached to any of them, but it's like that flavor of movie. I'm excited about it, so time will tell. It is also interesting to see movies being made that don't have an ending yet. This isn't a concluded thing, it's an ongoing thing, so it's going to be interesting, a lot like The Social Network. That movie had a beautiful 3-act structure, but that is like the prequel to the last 10 years. I've always said The Social Network is like the best horror movie that we got about the present ever. 2010, we didn't know how awful things were going to get, and I feel like The Social Network kind of kicked that all off. So it's really interesting to see them developing, fast-tracking a movie that doesn't quite have an ending yet, and time will tell. Multiple, at least 2 that I know of, GameStop movies, moving and grooving, and we'll see who gets them out the gate first. We've already got Michael Bay making pandemic movies. We've already got lots of far too timely content, so we will see. All right, moving over to much more fictional, but also very, very topical in its own way. We are getting Wakanda on Disney+. We are getting a World of Wakanda show from the brilliant, the great Ryan Coogler, who has signed a 5-year deal through his production company with Disney, and he's kicking that 5-year deal off with a show based in the world of Wakanda. This is really interesting to me for a myriad of reasons. One, it makes sense tonally. There's so much world in the MCU. You've got the Guardians corner, you got your Ant-Man corner, you got your New York stuff, you got your Thor stuff, you got all these different flavors depending on which through line, which trilogy or quadrilogy of Thor 4 coming out you follow. Black Panther is a character that could be very well established to a TV show, multiple movies, multiple spinoffs. That universe is so strong, and Wakanda is so rich and textured, and there's so much culture to explore. I think this is a great move. I think we've got WandaVision exploding the universe out. We've got little corners of it being more fleshed out with Falcon Winter Soldier and with the upcoming Hawkeye, but we really can deep dive into Wakanda. With Wakanda, you can get into the world of politics over there, you can get into the different kings, you can get into the legacy of what it means to be a ruler, you can get into the different tribes over time, you can do the show deep in the past, you can do it in the present, you can do it in the future, you can do it involving their technology evolving, you can do it involving the political influence and the financial influence of Vibranium once it leaves Wakanda, you can do Vibranium building the economy. There's so much to be built out of Wakanda. And I really think it's going to be a great way to tie in however they do Black Panther 2 with respect to Chadwick Boseman. Whether it's Shuri, which is the most likely, the most obvious, or someone else, I think it's going to be great to bolster all those stories with a Wakanda show. I think however Black Panther 2 shakes out, it's a really smart move to enrich that world, to build up that world, to dive deeper into that world, and bolster whatever set of Black Panther movies we get going forward. Also with this announcement, there are officially, as of the announcement of the Wakanda show, 26 Marvel properties in active development. 26 Marvel properties moving and grooving, which is truly astounding. I say that with a smile because they're all so different. It's rare that I'm fatigued personally. It's rare that I don't think they'll do well. It's rare that I'm not over the moon excited for them. Strap me in for 26, these bad boys. I am all in. And that's theoretically only the next 3 to 4 years. Maybe as short as 3 years, to be honest. That's truly incredible. What a clip. And I truly think that we're going to keep diversifying them. They're going to be different shapes and flavors. I think we're leading towards Young Avengers. I think we're obviously leading towards Kang. The multiverse is mere weeks away. We're going to talk about WandaVision episode 4 later in the show, getting about 20 minutes through the news. And there's going to be a lot to say about where this episode springs the Marvel Universe forward. So we're going to talk about that later on. But I think it's really smart to invest in the world of Wakanda for a myriad of reasons. And I think doing a TV show makes it so much more accessible a week to week. Sorry, I took a shower and I have shampoo in my eye, something. The world of Wakanda is worth a weekly hour of investigating. So I think this is, of the Marvel properties, one of the most deserving to dive into. So I'm really excited. And I really love what they were able to build with the movie. So I can't imagine if we get 3 times that runtime on TV. It's going to make me so happy. So I am so freaking in for that. All right, next up, my boy. Got to talk about Deadpool. If there's any Deadpool news, I'm going to try to breach it. I'm also, as you all know, in the koi pond. I think mental health is so essential for us to destigmatize. I think it's so essential for us to work on our perspective of, because it's generationally been judged. I was raised in I was fortunate. I was raised in a very loving house. I was raised not toughen up, and I was raised to talk about my shit. And I'm so lucky, and that's so rare. I'm one of the few people that rushes home for the holidays, that love seeing my family, that cannot wait to be around them when we're open about shit and we talk. But that's not the common, and mental health, I feel like, especially in quarantine, is really eking at us. I have a fair amount of anxiety in life. I get depressed like anybody. Mental health is, for whatever reason, judged more than physical health. If I cut my leg open, people aren't like, woo, they help. Whereas mental health, people are like, oh no, you're fine. Anyway, all that to be said, Ryan Reynolds, there was a day where they were promoting mental health through a hashtag called #BellLet'sTalk. And Ryan Reynolds is a marketing genius. Look at Aviation Gin, look at Mint Mobile. He is one of the best marketers in the game. He's so funny. He's a fantastic human being for a myriad of reasons. He used an unmade Deadpool 3 to share mental health awareness, which means I didn't think I could love him more, and now I totally do. He tweeted, "It's critical to have open, honest, and healthy discussions around mental health. By retweeting hashtag #BellLet'sTalk, you can make a difference." Already great, reaching millions of eyeballs with a single tweet, with the hashtag, spreading awareness. Good man, Ryan Reynolds. But of course it's Ryan Reynolds, so he makes it a much more marketable, spread like wildfire tweet. The next sentence is, in case that's not enough, before Disney bought Fox, Deadpool 3 was going to be a road trip movie between Deadpool and Logan, Rashomon style, for real. Now, of course, everyone's talking about it. Now we're talking about it on this show. Now we are spreading this like wildfire. A lot of people could say it's a joke because Hugh Jackman said he was never going to come back, but I don't know if he'd actually put for real on a tweet that was a joke. I think this is legit, and I have to say, I love that in some alternate reality, there is a Rashomon-style retelling of a road trip, which means alternate perspectives. That's not how it really happened, this is how it happened. Imagine Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds driving in a car and retelling the story through their alternate perspectives. That would have been magic. I love that idea so very much. Obviously, Disney now owns Fox. Hugh Jackman has said many times he's not reprising the role of Wolverine. Who knows what might happen? But what a beautiful way to spread mental health awareness. What a darling human being Ryan Reynolds is. This made me oh so very happy, and I wanted to share it with you lovelies. All right, first I have to sneeze, and then I gotta look at the Streamlabs because I saw one pop up, perhaps two. Sneeze seems to not be happening. We've moved on from the sneeze. All right, we got in the Streamlabs Mr. Chris Mason saying, I think they should cover the 5-year blip period in the Wakanda show. They can show who takes over during that time, maybe M'Baku. That's a dope idea, dude. I think we're going to see a lot of the 5-year period covered. I don't think we're going to live in it. I think we're going to reference it and go back and forth to it. I'm not going to say anything more about that until more properties come out and until we get further into things, but I do think the 5-year period is going to be essential, and I love that because Spider-Man obviously used it for comedic effect, but what a horrifying situation the shattering of reality and the recovery from it, that's going to be so essential for all of the properties in Phase 4 and forward. So I love the idea of Wakanda coping with the loss of a leader, rebuilding from there, and I think M'Baku is a character we want to see more from. So I love this idea. Excellent idea, Mr. Curtis Mason. I love that very much. That also allows for a lot of flexibility with Black Panther 2, which unfortunately is really necessary. So you got a great idea there. I see a lot of opportunity for this to really expand the world, and that's a really interesting call. Great idea. All right, next bit of news is about the Snydercut. Short bit of news. We got a Superman and Lois trailer last week, which is really cool. It's one of the most visually appealing CW shows I've ever seen. It doesn't look like a CW show. It looks like a piece of cinema. It's gorgeous. Don't know how I feel about the story yet. I never really fell in love with that take on Superman or Lois because I don't watch the CW shows that much. But I love the visuals of the trailer, so check out the trailer. New show called Superman and Lois. But the Snydercut is coming out on March 18th, 2021. Today is February 2nd, 2021, which means it's 8 days till Deadpool's 30th birthday. And that also means it is 16 plus, wait, how many days to the end of the month? 26 till the end of the month plus 18, 26 plus 18 is 34, 44 days. 44 days until Snydercut, y'all. 44 days, and it's a movie officially. Everyone thought it was a show. They announced it was a show. It was supposed to be 4 one-hour episodes spread across 4 weeks. That was a big sell for HBO Max. I always thought that was going to be impossible to edit something that was shot for a movie without shooting a lot more than a couple minutes worth of footage to make into a show just because of pacing. Like, you've got 3 acts in a film, you've got 5 acts in a show, or maybe 3 acts per show. How do you separate a 3-act structure into a 12-act structure or a 20-act structure? I didn't think any of that was going to happen. I think it's the better move to make it a solid movie instead of trying to make it a show and then have a movie. I think this is really exciting for Snydercut fans. It's coming very soon, 44 days, Snydercut as a feature, HBO Max. If you're not a subscriber, now is your time. Now's a reason. Or I guess if you want to do the 30-day thing, wait 15 days. But Snydercut is coming at you March 18th, 2021. And they teased a new look for Jared Leto today through a very Why So Serious Heath Ledger ripoff image where Heath was teased with Chris Nolan in this beautiful opaque shot of Chris Nolan shooting him IMAX, and then you couldn't see the Joker through it. And it was really cool. And then later on, they obviously did the Why So Serious. We teased the Joker's look going forward. So there's some legacy and experience with doing that with the character. But Jared Leto's Joker is so far from Heath Ledger's Joker. For me, it felt a little off. But that's tomato tomato. I'm excited to see what they do with Jared Leto's Joker. I'm excited to see the Jared Leto Joker I thought we were going to get. Maybe that's what we get here. So fingers crossed. There was no Jared Leto Joker in the original Justice League. Now, obviously, 4 hours plus a new take on the character. I am in. I'm excited. March 18th, 2021. James Gunn, speaking of the DC Extended Universe, when James Gunn was asked if you need to see the first Suicide Squad to enjoy the second, The Suicide Squad, he said, and I quote, "No, you'll be just fine." Further making people think it is only a sequel in the sense that some of the characters are played by the same actors, but overall it is a reboot. You'll be able to enjoy the R-rated The Suicide Squad, having not seen Suicide Squad, if you so choose. So more confirmation, it's over here, and they're reshaping the universe in their own way. But speaking of awesome DC properties in the DC animated universe, HBO Max this month, February, is getting not just Justice League, not just Justice League Unlimited, not just Batman Brave and the Bold, not just The Batman, but also Static Shock. Static Shock is one of my favorite cartoons ever. I think ever. Static Shock is incredible. The opening song is awesome. The theme song, that's the word I was looking for. The character is great. The world they built is awesome. I remember loving that show growing up. I'm so excited it's going to be on HBO Max. I own Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray because the transfer is stunning. But I haven't been able to watch Batman Beyond or Static Shock in years. Now they're both on HBO Max. I think it's going to be the end of the month where Static Shock is, but they're doing like 1 show a week dropping on HBO Max. So by the end of February, you, like me, can watch Static Shock on HBO Max. Very excited. Brief little bit of news, because we're living in that Justice League world. Joss Whedon originally wanted an anatomically correct Vision. This was a headline for a lot of news outlets because it's a really weird story. I just think it's weird enough to mention, not make it a big deal. It's certainly weird. Vision is never seen that way in the comic books. I guess that's his way of rationalizing the children, but Wanda's a witch and he's an android, so obviously there's something a little off about them having kids. You don't need to show Purple Wang. There's the Dr. Manhattan blue dick of importance, but Paul Bettany's purple dick, probably not necessary. Also, it's a PG-13 film. I don't understand. Also, they're having a baby and he's an android. You don't need to show the math. Anyway, obviously that didn't come to pass. There is no Joss Whedon cut of Dick in any Age of Ultron, which is probably for the best. Just thought it was a weird news story. Had to share it. All right, over to Sandman. We have the confirmed cast for Sandman, and it is Sandman. For Sandman, and it is excellent. Now, there is a Sandman Audible cast that is also exceptional, and it features Taron Egerton as Constantine, and a lot of people are lobbying for Constantine to be played by Taron in the live action, which I could totally see. But the Netflix cast has not announced their Constantine yet. They did, however, announce a very stunning cast. Some of them I honestly don't know. The ones I do know, over the moon about. Their characters are announced anyway. We obviously have Dream/Morpheus, who is going to be played by Tom Sturridge. Great. I love it. He's got the look. I know some of his work. I think it's going to be perfect. I'm all about that. Gwendolyn Christie is playing Lucifer. This is amazing. What a great casting choice. I don't know a lot of her work, but what I do know, she is going to kill that role. I'm so excited. Vivian A. I don't know how to say that last name. Vivian A. Champong. A. Champong, maybe is how you say it, is Lucian. Do not know this actress. Do not have any reason to be not trusting with the rest of the cast. I think she's going to be great. If this cast includes fucking Boyd Holbrook and Charles Dance and Tom Sturridge, who I do know, I'm trusting in the other three I don't know. I do not know her work. She looks cool. We'll see how she is as Lucian. We've also got Asim Chaudhry as Abel. Again, I don't know his work, but he's got the right look. And Sanjay Bashkar as Kane. Last two gents and lady, I do not know, but I trust Netflix with this property, and I also really trust DC after Watchmen. Unknowns and titans of acting alike, everyone they've put in these properties I have fallen in love with as the characters that I know and love. Now, the people I do know, Boyd Holbrook is going to crush as the Corinthian. Boyd Holbrook elevates everything he's in. He's so good. If you haven't seen Logan somehow, check out Logan. Boyd Holbrook is a powerhouse in it, and then Charles Dance teaming up again with Gwendolyn Christie, both Game of Thrones vets. Gonna be awesome as Mr. Roderick Burgess. So very excited for the Sandman cast. That's all we have so far. I'm curious if Mr. Taron Egerton somehow crosses over. I'm curious about the rest of the cast, rounding out the craziness. But we're getting a Sandman, we have a Sandman audio as is, and now we get a live action. This is a cool time to be a comic fan, y'all. What a glorious age. All right, over to, speaking of live action and other mediums, as we have an Audible and a live action Sandman, soon we are getting an animated Invincible, which we have seen a trailer for, which has one of the best casts ever assembled over on Amazon. We are still getting the live action Invincible. Live action Invincible is coming from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are crushing it at all times, producing some of the best stuff in the game. Currently working on The Boys. They're giant comic book fans. I trust them blindly. I want to see a live action Invincible, and I think it's going to be a few years. I think animated is going to come out this year, and then it's going to be like 3 or 4 years to live action, but the live action is still alive. It is officially still moving forward, but it is now going to be separate. There was originally talk of the animated and the live action intertwining. Now it is a completely separate property. I'm over the moon that we're getting 2 different takes on Invincible. Once again, paralleling Sandman, both deserve lots of adaptations. Both have my money. I'm all in. Thank you, Amazon. Matrix 4 officially gets a title with The Matrix Resurrections is the rumor. Now, Matrix, obviously Reloaded, Revolutions, now Resurrection ties into the name scheme. It's also so obvious it could be a fake title. If it's not, it totally works. If it is, well, that was an easy title. It also could explain could explain Neo coming back. It also could be a mislead that someone else comes back. All of these are theories because it's not out yet, but I cannot wait. I'm a huge Matrix fan. The first one is my number 2 movie of all time. I could not be more excited for them to retroactively fix some of the problems with 2 and 3 by having a modern Matrix film. It was 22 years ago this summer that we got The Matrix. 22 years. That movie was so prophetic. That movie established so many of the standards for action we hold today. That movie was so ahead of its time. Give me that Matrix 4. Matrix, apparently, Resurrections, coming out this year on HBO Max because of the whole Warner Brothers deal, which I don't love. Next up, we've got a Cheaper by the Dozen remake going down with Zach Braff and Gabrielle Union. I do not envy Zach Braff because he has aged and Gabrielle Union has not. But I'm really excited for this because the original is so much fun. The remake is even fun with Tom Welling as one of the kids, and I am a big fan of Gabrielle Union and a pretty good sized fan of Zach Braff. Nothing against Zach Braff. I never watched Scrubs, and that's like his main thing. I like his directing, and I really like the movies he's directed that he's in. I just haven't watched enough Scrubs to say like, yeah, Zach Braff. Whereas Gabrielle Union is, I mean, come on, 10 Things to Say About You and Bring It On. Gabrielle Union. And all of her incredible drama work, not discounting, but I grew up in 10 Things, Bring It On. So, Gabrielle doing the mom work in Cheaper by the Dozen opposite Zach Braff. Very exciting. Over to the world of sci-fi, we are getting a Cloverfield sequel, a direct sequel to the movie, the 2008 movie from Matt Reeves, who has gone on to do, you know, Daredevil, which we love very much, Cabin in the Woods, lots of great work. Matt Reeves is a goddamn genius. I'm very excited to see a sequel, but it is not going to be directed by the same man. It will, however, be produced by J.J. Abrams, who really kind of got his start in the movie world, sunk his teeth into producing in the movie world with Cloverfield, so I'm excited he's coming back. We have Joe Barton taken over, and he is a man who is showrunning the Gotham show spinoff of Matt Reeves' Batman, so it's kind of a cool tie-in. That whole world all so interconnected, but I'm really intrigued by what we get out of a sequel, because the original idea way back in the day was to set the movie at the exact same time period as the first Cloverfield. Drew Goddard is the writer that I kept not thinking of. Drew Goddard obviously brought us Daredevil the show and wrote the masterpiece that I consider Cloverfield to be. Could not remember his name. All apologies. Matt Reeves, obviously the director of Cloverfield, is directing The Batman, and the showrunner of The Batman show is doing the spinoff of his movie from '08. So I think it's really cool how close-knit that group is. Obviously, Matt Reeves signed off on it because they're working together. And obviously that world is important to him, so I trust whatever the script's going to be. So Matt Reeves originally wanted to do a sequel that took place like in the same time period, but like over here in New York. So all the incidents that we experienced would be reflected in another part of New York. We've obviously had Cloverfield sequels since, but they were more spin-off-y. This is our first direct sequel. I'm fucking stoked. I think it's going to be really rad. So, diving into the next bit of news, we also found out that this is a bit older, but I think it's going to be the beginning of a lot of dominoes falling. Morbius and Baz Luhrmann's Elvis have both been pushed to 2022. Both of those were supposed to come out in 2020 and have now shifted completely off this calendar year in 2022. I think as we get into February, March, we're going to see a lot more shifts, like A Quiet Place, and a lot more things be moved to next year, but we have tons of streaming content, so it's not like we're going to be hurting. I look forward to movie theaters reopening to see these movies, but it has begun, the great exodus of 2021 theatrical release dates. Speaking of strange exoduses, Armie Hammer has also left, in addition to the J-Lo rom-com, a Making of the Godfather series called The Offer. The Offer is obviously an offer you can't refuse. In the vein of Mank and all these amazing adaptations of classic stories and how they got made, they were going to do one about The Godfather, and Armie Hammer had been attached to a big role. He is no longer involved because of all the craziness going on, and I still haven't figured out what of the screenshots were legit and what were not, because I saw some that were like, no, he's not a cannibal, I was making it up. And then others that were like, nah, he's crazy. And like, this is cannibalism. What a crazy thing to even be talking about. Like, what happened? I think at the end of the day, until I know what's going on, I'm not going to say anything except the reports of like him leaving properties. But if we find out a guy named Armie Hammer that looks like that and is 6'4", has cannibal fetishes, we're living the weirdest simulation ever. Like, the Matrix is real and it's bored and it writes some weird shit. The guy's name's already Armie Hammer. It's the writing in this reality is so piss poor. I just want to know what's going on. Time will tell. And then the final bit of news with the world of movies that I'm excited about. They're doing a Buck Rogers reboot with George Clooney starring. George Clooney is going to be Buck Rogers himself, and I like George Clooney, so I'm excited. I'm excited to be invested in Buck Rogers. Time will tell. We will see. All right, so that is going to be it for the news today. That is about, I said 25 minutes. It is 28 from the opening. Perfect. That is going to be it for the news. I'm going to quickly look at the Streamlabs and Super Chats, make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I'm going to get into a brief Schmoedown conversation because a lot of folks wanted me to go through my draft and kind of discuss where I came from with my ideas, and now that the draft is over, I can do that. And then after that, we're going to talk about WandaVision Episode 4, and then Comic Rex, and we're going to wrap it out for the week. So that's going to be it for that. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be doing a live review for Mr. AJ Lancaster, patron saint of awesome reviews. We're going to be talking about all sorts of that good stuff. And the Sound of Metal review I just dropped yesterday, so if you have seen the Sound of Metal, check out my review. I had a really great time doing that one. And I see Streamlab just popped in, and then I will dive into my Schmoedown thoughts. Hey Coy, I'm recovering from a recent surgery. Can I please get some marathon recommendations? Oh, Rose Kirby, marathon recommendations. I got you. Okay, I'm a huge UFC fan. I'm a big MMA fan. Kingdom was one of my favorite things I experienced in all of quarantine. I took my time while watching it. I rode a stationary bike so I wouldn't watch too much of it at once because I was afraid of ending it. You are in another boat where you don't need to pace yourself. You should just invest. Kingdom is excellent. I watched all of The West Wing this quarantine. I am a slow binger, so I'm trying to think of things that I really enjoyed. Oh, High Fidelity. High Fidelity was one of my favorite shows of last year that didn't get enough love. High Fidelity, Zoe Kravitz, I love her, is a better adaptation of what I think the movie was going for than even the movie accomplished. It's a beautiful modernization of the story. It's a great long-form romance experience. It's a love letter to a certain time that I love. It's just so good. Check out High Fidelity. Check out, if you're into politics at all, The West Wing. Even if you're not, the writing's just excellent. If you're into martial arts, I think Kingdom is the best martial arts show, period. And then finally, I want one more for you. I just started The Good Place, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm 2 episodes from the end of season 1. It's very sitcom fun, but if you're into the sitcom space, it's a great old time. I'm usually not a sitcom guy, but this one is smart enough, and the writing is tight enough, and the acting is also good that like some of the little sitcom-y things don't bother me. I'm digging The Good Place. So my lightest recommendation is The Good Place. My darkest recommendation is Kingdom. My longest recommendation is The West Wing. And in the middle of all that is the easiest to is High Fidelity. I hope that helps, and feel better, because surgery is not fun. But now is, I guess, the time, right? We're all kind of recovering and trapped at home, so I'm glad you're going to feel better by the time things are open again. And heal up, feel better. Okay, Schmoedown. You guys want to talk Schmoedown? Let's talk Schmoedown. Schmoedown went down on Friday for the draft 4 days ago. A lot of people were judging my free agency picks. I went into the free agency knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I went into the free agency with a very specific plan for the draft, and a lot of people doubted me. I think people doubted me because I needed Inner Geekdom in Star Wars, because that's something I didn't have a lot of last year. But last year I did have Scrimshaw, who's incredible, and I made it work by elevating the already incredible latent abilities of 2 of my players to full-on Inner Geekdom awesome. So last year, I stand by my diversifying my whole faction better than people give me credit for, but this year I really wanted to prove people wrong. So the free agency was, I didn't want Kevin to go into the draft. One, I like working with Kevin, he likes working with me. I don't want that situation to be risked by having him go into the draft. If I was in any sort of draft and Kevin Smith popped in there, I would swoop in no matter what my plan was. I wasn't going to risk that. So Kevin Smith was my 3rd free agency choice. I'm obviously keeping Shazam. They're my boys. Love Brendan Meyer to death. I think he plays better when I'm coaching him. I think I'm a better coach when I've got someone like Brendan to help me learn how to be a better coach. Bibbs knows more about the Schmoedown than I think Christian and Ellis do. And he's a great deputy. He's so good at running drills. He's so good at helping me out. Bibbs is fantastic. Much love for the beast. So obviously those are my 3. The draft itself. I went in knowing I needed Star Wars and IG. Obviously, when against all odds, the current champion title Star Wars player that I wanted to work with is still there in Andrew DiMolanta, I'm going to do that against all odds. Andrew DiMolanta is still there in the 4th round. I'm a big fan of his. I was on the other end of the Scrimshaw loss to him. Like, I was with Scrimshaw, and I'm just seeing these titans of knowledge going back and forth. If I wasn't going to have Scrimshaw, I want Andrew DiMolanta, and he was available, so there's my 4th round pick. It was a no-brainer. He and I had talked before, about a week earlier. He and I had conversations about what his plan was, what he wanted out of this season of Schmoedown, and it seemed like we were going to be a good fit from manager to what his goals were and what I wanted from a Star Wars player. So I'm really excited about that, and that was premeditated. That was schemed in advance, and I was just waiting for the rounds 1 through 3, hoping nobody would say his name. We get around to the next round, and I had called Eric Whiteley. Eric Whiteley is someone that I had talked about in the early rounds of the announcement of the draft list. There's the word. He's someone I talked to in the early rounds of the draft list. And it was basically going to be, if I couldn't get the great Andrew DiMolanta, I wanted Molly. And Molly and I had talked, and I was still thinking Molly in my 2nd round because I'm a big fan of Molly Damon. I love the weird fake feud where she hates all the quirky mercs. I really think it's fun that there's this ongoing thing with certain POV. And I also just think Molly Damon's a cool human. So it was going to be Molly Damon in that next round. But Eric Whiteley and I had this great conversation. I also realized that Eric Whiteley is going to need someone that can show him from the ground up the world of Star Wars. I think he is a Star Wars genius. I think he's going to play a lot. And to be honest, I was afraid that if I had 2 champions, and this sounds weird, but if I had 2 champions in DiMolanta and Molly Damon, I was afraid that'd only be like 2 or 3 games. Whereas if I have a champion and someone that can run through the ranks, that's a different story. By getting Eric Whiteley, I feel like we'd play more, and I honestly wanted to show someone that's so in the nerd sphere with his reactions, with his YouTube and everything else, a new game, and how to come in from that direction from the nerd perspective. So Eric Whiteley seemed like the right move. If I could have rationalized 3 Star Wars players in a deck of 12, then Molly Damon is in no way going to be around round 3. But I couldn't rationalize having Molly Damon in addition to 2 other Star Wars players when I needed to get to an IG. So I knew with IG, there's going to be, IG tournaments, and I joked that there's an Intergeekdom League in the Facebook right before. Obviously, Intergeekdom is one of the only things I've played, and it's something that means a lot to me. So I needed to not go with Molly in the 3rd round because I needed to fill my IG in, and that's why I went with, I think, one of the most promising new rookies, a rookie that showed up with the promos, that seems to live and breathe the geekdom world, Jesse Swift. Now, Jesse is just as enthusiastic as Bibbs, which is saying a lot. He walks the walk, talks the talk. Now I'm excited to see him play. I think he's going to be incredible. I drafted him 3rd for a reason. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. Got a lot of faith in Jesse Swift, so he was right there. I think that's 1 through round 2, 3. Next up, I had to get my girl Perry. I love Perry Demeroff. I love working with her. I love her in the Schmoedown. I love her in regular life. I love, we do cons together. Like, Perry's a homie. Perry and I are friends. So after I got my specialties, the first person I had to get on my team was the great Perry Demeroff back. She surprised a lot of people last year. I was so worried that I wouldn't get to her before she was taken up. I was so happy she was still there in the 4th round. It worked out, so I got the great Perry Demeroff back as a Merc where she belongs. Merc for life, Perry Demeroff. Round 5 was tricky because at this point I'm running out of draft picks that feel like I'm losing ground. There are people at this point that I've lost that I wanted. At this point, if Molly was still there, I might have said screw it because I got an Intergeekdom and I got my friend Perry, and then I would have figured it out. But at this point, I'd accepted that, and at this point, I wanted to go with a new world of singles, like a new fresh blood in the game, and I really think Beth May is hilarious. Beth May is so funny in her promos. She's the definition of quirky. I think that she's going to be the wild berries all by herself. I think that she's a force of comedic nature, and I really wanted to work with a rookie that I thought was as funny as Beth. So Beth May, sight unseen. I've never seen her play trivia, but I have seen her be brilliant, and she seems to know so much about movies in her promos that I was like, I'm gonna trust this. So Beth May came in. Next round is the 6th round, where Josh Horowitz, who I'm a huge fan of as a journalist. He's one of the rare journalists who has integrity and fun with his interviews. I find a lot of times we sacrifice integrity so quickly to do dumb shit, and we also do dumb shit, or we're boring and the integrity's there. It's hard to balance the two things. He's someone that makes journalism fun, but also is clearly having a good time, is super invested, and he knows his shit. That's why I think he's going to be a great Schmo player. I think he's going to really surprise people by just being like, oh yeah, release dates and blah, blah, blah. I'm a big fan of the human, so I think he's going to be a great Schmoedown player. Josh was next. And then finally, the last round of the draft last year, I recruited Greg Alba. Greg Alba and I are real-life friends, and he has played better this last year than he's played in his Schmoedown career. I think we both work well with each other, and I really think that he's going to be even better this year. So I had to get Greg Alba after the draft ended, and of course I opened my saved for the end of draft beer to celebrate the Greg Alba return. Had to get the real redux together, so I got John Humphrey after the draft. John Humphrey also played incredibly in singles last year. John Humphrey is a genius. He's so much fun too, man. I love those guys. And then Sabrina Ramirez, I feel like was so slept on during the draft. I could not believe I was able to get her in the 11th round. I was very worried about losing Sabrina Ramirez because she's someone I really wanted to coach. I think she's had bad luck with, setups in the past. I think she's going to be great, and I'm really excited to work with Sabrina. So that is the reasoning behind my draft. It went exactly as I wanted to, short of, yes, I wanted to recruit Molly Damon, spoiler alert, but short of that, I really was able to get 90% of the draft I wanted. I'm stoked for this season. So I need to mentally recover a bit, dive in head first, get some matches out there. We're going to play hard. The Mercs we're coming for it this year. I really feel like we got disrespected last year. I get the way Manager of the Year went. I was number 4 in a lot of the votes, which was great. I was honored to be in the top half. Faction of the Year, though, we were so many of the categories we were nominated for. We had so many upsets. I think our team's matches were better than others. I really think we got the short end of the stick for a lot of reasons last year. So a lot of people think because we're a face faction, we're not here to fight, but we are. A lot of people think because I recruited Kevin Smith, my free agency, that I don't give a shit. Oh, I fucking do. I'm coming for this entire fucking league. Every single one of these divisions is ours. So it's on this year, and I hope everybody's ready. So Schmoedown Season 8 belongs to the Quirky Mercs. I'm really proud of my faction. Sight unseen, they're going to own. Strap in, you lovelies. It's going to be a good season. All right, that is going to do it for my Schmoedown rant. I think, people asking about Molly in the chat. Rose is a sitcom person. She'll check out all of these. Hell yeah, Rose. Enjoy. I definitely think if you're a sitcom person, you will enjoy The Good Place. It's a very good sitcom. All right, those are the Schmoedown questions. Wonderful. Kicking it back to WandaVision. Guys, WandaVision. Holy shit, what an episode. I've seen a few people kind of drift in and out. The numbers fluctuate with the Schmoedown. When it comes to WandaVision, I'm going full spoilers. The episode dropped on Friday. It's now Tuesday. So you've had all of Friday, all of Saturday, all of Sunday, all of Monday. You've had 4 days. We're closer to the next episode than the last. So we're going to go over here. Full spoilers. I'm going to give all my thoughts. If you guys don't follow me on my Instagram every Friday, the moment that show ends, I look at my crazy scribbles, I retype them so they're legible, and I do an IGTV. I do a full live right after they've gone for about an hour. So if you want my immediate thoughts, full spoilers, follow me on Instagram every Friday. I'm going to jump on Instagram Live and just diatribe. So that's where to find it immediately. This is where to find it after you've had time to see it and settle in. But it's going to be a little shorter because these are my second wave of notes. Spidey Cat? Oh, by the way, Spidey Cat has been hanging out this entire show, being handsome. Okay, let's get into WandaVision thoughts. I've given as much stalling as I can to let people boogie if they have not seen the show. All right, we are going to dive into episode 4. Episode 4 answered one question by asking 2. There are almost as many mysteries as before the show even aired. Now that they've given us all these answers, there is more to dissect and dive into. I love that. This is a mystery box show. I'm really upset with society over this show because people saying it's slowly paced, people saying that it's boring, people saying all these things. It's like, well, it's a mystery show, so you got to get to the answers. You shouldn't just be spoon-fed. I've never doubted humanity until 2019 onward, but now even my pop culture, I just doubt people even in pop culture. It's just disappointing that people want the answers right away. I'm so glad it's not a binge show. I like processing it over the week. I like having conversations with people about it, so I'm really bummed. To be honest, I'm bummed that we got to the answers that we have so fast, but I feel like they kind of anticipated the kickback. So episode 4, you've also noticed they've done a lot more ads, so clearly they're trying to bring people back by saying like, no, we know it's a Marvel show. Look at all the Marvel stuff. I like the mystery box. Personally, I was enjoying the pacing it had been. That said, I am cool with the viewership doing well because we've gotten to the more traditional Marvel flavor. I would have liked to play more, but it is what it is. Now we're going to play and be in and out of the dome because we're going to go back into the 80s in the next episode. We're going to go to the Halloween stuff. The next episode, I believe, will be where we get the classic Silver Age costumes for Scarlet Witch and Mr. Vision because basically the 80s were full of wonderful Halloween episodes, like classic Halloween episodes of TV and movies. I think they're going to reference that by having Halloween stuff we've seen in the trailers in the 80s episode, which I do believe is next. That said, I think we're going to be living in and outside of the dome, back and forth. So people that didn't like the pace, that's the pace of living inside the show, I think, is over. I think now we're going to be like plotting between the two. So in addition to all that, new sword has been confirmed. I really am intrigued by what the sentient weapon observation research department is doing. I think it's been debunked since, but I wouldn't be surprised if it works out this way later. If you guys watched my IGTV, on Friday I said I think the cosmic radiation that Wanda is emitting when it explodes is going to have something to do with Fantastic Four. I don't think the astronauts that have already gone to space are the Fantastic Four. I don't think Sword that's in space now is the Fantastic Four. I think the radiation that bursts at the end of this series is going to cause the Fantastic Four. I think the seed of the FF is planted in episode 9. That's my theory. I think people are trying to debunk it. I think the astronaut theory isn't correct, but I think the cosmic radiation of the Reality Stone is going to be something bigger beyond just the multiverse that's coming. So theoretically, she could cause the multiverse that brings in all the Spider-Man. She causes the multiverse that brings in all the X-Men. And theoretically, she could also cause Fantastic Four. The show's about to be huge if my tinfoil hat theories are correct. We got Wanda being in control, somewhat confirmed. She was able to kick out the wonderful Monica Rambeau. We also found out through that action, that's how we're going to get to keep Tommy and Billy, because once they were outside of the dome, they remained. They will remain, because her clothes stayed period appropriate, and the tether that was pulling the Beehive Keeper stayed a rope. So the rope is now in our reality as a jump rope, which means that Tommy, Billy, and potentially Vision stay alive once the dome falls, which is very exciting. We might get Vision with us again. I do think we're getting Speedster and Wiccan by the end of the show. They're going to be really alive, and that's really exciting. Vision terrified confirmed. Vision is at least self-aware enough to know to be scared of Wanda, which I think is a very interesting note. If he was a creation of hers, I don't think she would instill fear in him. We saw little twitches of fear in the first 3 episodes, but episode 4 we really saw some actual fear from Paul Bettany. And man, that guy can act. Who is the missing person in Whitpo? I think this is a really big question. I think it has something to do with Wu. I think that witness protection is going to be a big part of the last third of the show. I think whoever that person is, I don't know if it's Ralph, I don't know if it's Dottie. I still think Dottie is Mephisto. You also notice on the board, Agnes didn't have a license, and Dottie wasn't even on the wall. I still think Dottie is the big bad, especially because she's the only person we've cut to. In episode 3, we cut to Dottie and her husband on a day-to-day moment, and there's no other characters we've seen away from Wanda and Vision. Even the scene of them all sitting around at the college, Vision approached them like it was a set, preparing for Vision's arrival. We saw Herb trying to escape the yard. Like, these things I think are all clues that Dottie's bigger than that. I don't think she's Arcana Jones. A lot of people have theorized that. Because the husband Jones was that name was debunked because they said playing Jones. So I personally don't think she's Arcana Jones. I think she's Mephisto, and I think it's gonna be really fucking cool to see Mephisto in the MCU. I love that Darcy and Randall are our eye lines because Darcy is the eye line to the craziness of Asgard, and obviously Randall is such an eye line in the Ant-Man world. I think having our 2 main MCU eye lines as our eye line to the insanity of WandaVision was inspired because throughout the episode they're just doing all the stuff we're doing watching the show. They're watching the same show we've watched going like, oh, detail, detail, detail. They literally are saying the shit we've been saying here, and I love that the MCU is so beautifully mirroring itself through those characters. Seeing the reverse blip, oh, what a stunning display. That was truly terrifying. Fantastic opening of episode 4. The not comedic side of what we saw in Spider-Man, the horror of what it was, losing a character we met and loved in Captain Marvel, all of that was so heart-wrenching, and what a great way to show, like, oh no, this is different than the first 3 episodes. Now we're into the second act, and the second act just took off like a rocket. Very excited about that. AIM is hexagonal in shape. They kept mentioning Hexagons. The dome is a hexagon in shape. I think AIM is responsible for the dome. Personally, I think AIM and Sword are working together. I do think AIM is still involved, and I don't know if I trust Sword. I don't know if I trust that Sword department head, and I do think there's something to do with advanced idea mechanics going forward, and they're obviously a big bad in the comic books. Talked about the cosmic radiation, the reality stone, the scarlet of the reality stone with the stork, her powers manifest in scarlet energy, being the reality stone. All that's going to tie in a big way for the third act. Show, we found out, takes place 3 weeks after Endgame, so we know that people have just come back from the 5-year blip. We are 3 weeks into the return, which is how the great Randall Park Wu learned the magic trick. He had 5 years to master the magic trick, and I loved that moment where he does the card flip with such flourish and happiness. I'm so proud of him. The bubble is 5 miles of hexagon. This is how they do 80s and 90s later in the series. So we took a break, we interrupted the program, now we're going to go back to 80s and then presumably the next episode in the 90s. Speaking of, this next episode, episode 5, I'm pretty sure we're getting Quicksilver. The late 80s leading into the 90s in X-Men was Quicksilver in the Cure shirt. And I think we're getting Evan Peters as the first bit of multiverse in WandaVision this week. I think the Multiverse of Madness starts in 3 days. I think we kick off the multiverse with Evan Peters as Quicksilver from the late 80s leading into the 90s as he was in the first X-Men film. I think we get the goggles cure wearing Quicksilver like Friday, and I think it's going to be insane. I think we begin the process of crossing all of this over. I started a TikTok, but I've only used it once. I need to get back to it. I was saying there's this quote from Kevin Feige that I think is way bigger than people are giving it credit for. He basically said that they can reference anything Marvel before now. It's all canon, like comics do. Like he said that we always base off comic books, but it's all canon, which means the X-Men universe that Fox owned then, that Disney owns now, can be canon. I really think Evan Peters is Pietro of another multiverse coming in, which means my crazy tinfoil hat theory from like 5 years ago about Deadpool kills the Fox universe is technically possible, which means Aaron Taylor Johnson and Evan Peters meeting, which has been my tinfoil hat theory the last 2 weeks of the show, is technically possible. The timeline lines up with his first appearance in the 80s to 90s with the next episode of the show. Shit's about to be crazy. If I'm right, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to be so excited. If I'm wrong, then this was a fun train of thought. But mark my words, we are 51 minutes into this episode. So probably started ranting at 50 minutes. 50 minutes into this episode, I am saying I think Evan Peters, from his first appearance in the X-Men, in those clothes, as that time period, is going to be the first bit of the multiverse. And what more perfect a character than Pietro Maximoff with a different Wanda Maximoff, when we've already met one Pietro, when we never got a Scarlet Witch in the Fox universe because she was in the Avengers, when we did get 2 Pietros, what better way to clash worlds? There's not a lot of characters that are in both Fox and Marvel. This is perfect. This is how you do it. This is how you bring in Deadpool. This is how you bring in all sorts of craziness. This is how you do the 3 Spider-Men in Spider-Man 3. This is how you get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. It's all canon. Watch my video on TikTok, it's only a minute long. It's about the quote, it's about the ramifications, and it's about what I'm saying now, how this all might happen. Quicksilver's coming, y'all. I think it's happening. All right, next up, last bits of news. Censoring. I think censoring is interesting. Wanda is controlling the narrative of what we're seeing. She's emitting these things, right? Like she's making the show. She's controlling what Darcy's seeing. She's controlling what Wu is seeing. I'm really curious when we see in between those cuts what's happened. We still don't know what happened to the Beehive guy. We still don't know what happened to we saw Monica the next episode jettisoned out. We didn't know after episode 3. We now know in episode 4 the actual act of her using her magic. I'm really curious what else she's censored, what else she's kept from us, what else she's cut, and I'm really excited about what that censoring means. I think it's a big detail. The production design line is genius because we see that when it goes into the bubble, it goes to her reality. She literally is controlling reality to that level. The misleading names was clever. Herb is not the High Evolutionary. Harold Proctor is probably not anyone from the comics. There's a coordinator proctor in Department H. It's the closest proctor I could think of. And I don't think it's Arcana Jones and Philip Jones. The Skrulls on the whiteboard made me happy just because in the comic books they're always like, Skrulls! Like, you always assume it's Skrulls, and I love that now the shows can say Skrulls. Because of Captain Marvel, it makes me so happy. It's so nerdy and comic-y. Skrulls are so canon, they wrote Skrulls on the board. And then, this is the first time it's went wide in the bubble. Our world has been wide, and the show has been this aspect ratio. Now it went to the full aspect ratio and then back in. So very, very, very intrigued. Ace D, while I leaned up, I saw you wrote, I do believe it's going to be a case of the JJJ, same actor, different version of the character. Oh, that's what I'm saying. The JJ is the first example. That's actually what I gave in my TikTok. This has already started. JJ is J. Jonah Jameson from another multiverse. I think both JJs are canon. I think JJ is the beginning with Spider-Man that the multiverse kicks off, and then Evan Peters is the first one they shove in our face. It's about to get crazy. I think all of Phase 4 is going to be multiversal madness, which is the title one. And the song, the last bit of music in the show was about voodoo. It's a stretch. This is a leap. I think Brother Voodoo is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. Is Brother Voodoo going to appear with Doctor Strange in WandaVision? Will we get a Brother Voodoo as early as the late episodes of WandaVision? Do we get Brother Voodoo that soon? Hype. So, episode 4 was all the answers people wanted. It was all the Marvel stuff people wanted. Those are some of my theories. I have a friend on the show, but she did not give me any information because I didn't want to know it. I've also seen people post spoilers and I've avoided them. I also saw a headline that really sucked that a company posted revealing something that I don't know to be true or not, so I don't consider it a spoiler, but I'm avoiding spoilers because I like the theorizing part of this. So if any of these are wrong, this was fun. If they are right, fuck yeah. Once again, on Friday, IGTV Live, right after I watch the episode, so like 10 or 11 in the morning, and we'll dive into the next week's theories and review that episode. So follow me on Instagram. It's my name, Coy-Jandreau, Coyjandreau, and we do this a little earlier over there on Friday. All right, let's get into comic book and movie recs, and then we're going to wrap out this week's Coy Cube. That's going to do it for this week. But before I go, let's talk comic books. All right, last week's comics was one of the best weeks of comics in years, just for consistency. There were so many incredible books from all the houses. So, fuck it, I'll just read them all. Amazing Spider-Man, I'm catching up in a big way. I read Amazing Spider-Man 52 to 56. That whole arc is incredible. I'm really digging it. Batman, White Knight, Harley Quinn #4. Captain Marvel 25 is one of my favorite arcs of Captain Marvel ever. Daredevil 26 continues to be incredible. Department of Truth #5 is probably my pull of the week. Department of Truth #5, the whole arc, this was like the big ramp up in action. This whole arc has been insane. I love this book. It is an early contender for Book of the Year. I loved the first couple issues last year. It is just getting better. Department of Truth is genius. It's about conspiracy theories, and the idea is if enough people think something, it becomes true. So it's a government entity trying to prevent people from making shit up, causing it to be real, which feels too topical. It's a great book. We've also got Fantastic Four 28. Dan Slott writes me in Fantastic Four. I'm a way bigger fan of his FF than his Spider-Man. I personally was not a big Iron Spider guy. I don't like Tony Stark's Spider-Man. I love what he's doing with FF though. His first family is perfect. We've also got Future State Batman Superman #1, Future State Dark Detective #2, and Future State Superman vs. Imperious Lex. The Superman stuff is tricky. That's a hard character to write. I really dig the Imperious Lex stuff and the Batman Superman stuff. I'm a sucker for Batman, so Dark Detective's not a surprise, but I've been really impressed with the Future State stuff overall. I'm about 60% in and 40% out. That is a way better ratio than the usual full swath of comic books. I like more than not in the Future State stuff. It's very impressive. Over in the world of Savage Avengers, we've got a Conan the Barbarian Deadpool team up. Love that. Very fun book with issue number 17. Sensational Wonder Woman #4 is a digital first book, and it's fun, it's young, it's an all ages book, it's just a good time, and I really dug this issue #4. Something is Killing the Children 15 might be my favorite issue of that series, and you guys know how often I talk about that series. Big fan of that issue. Strange Academy #7. Great time. Doctor Strange running a school like he's the Xavier, and it's a magic school. It's like Harry Potter meets X-Men. It's such a fun book. Check out Strange Academy. Issue 7 was great. Strange Adventures 8. Strange Adventures is Doc Shaner, Mitch Gerads, and Tom King blowing your mind every week with commentaries on war and what it means to be civil in times of war and ethics and morality, and it's such a great book. Again, very blown away by it. Strange Adventures number 8, one of my favorite issues of that run. We Only Find Them They're Dead number 5 is one of my favorite issues of that run. Like I said, last week's comics were exceptional. Issue 5 is the most action-packed issue. It's a big culmination of a lot of plot lines. Check out We Only Find Them They're Dead. Wolverine number 9. Wolverine goes to an arms deal as Patch, and hijinks ensue, including one of his arms from the past that he doesn't remember going up for auction, claws and all. And I'm not going to give anything away, but it's such a fun time seeing Patch back, and it's a very cool Madripoor issue. Highly recommend. Finally, X-Men number 17. Those were just my top books of last week. I read like 50, 55 books last week. Those were all B pluses to A's. Incredible week last week. Highly recommend all those books. As far as streaming recommendations, it's February now, so lots of new stuff in the streaming. I know I get overwhelmed with the amount of content, so the things I'm going to be checking out or I love. These are either my favorite movies, like amongst my favorite movies, or they are basically things that I'm excited to check out. Over on Netflix, on the first, we got Eat, Pray, Love. I've never seen, and I've been on a Julia Roberts kick. I'm excited to check out Eat, Pray, Love. Inception and The Patriot are two classics. On Amazon, they got Australia, which I've never seen, and Coming to America is incredible. If you've never seen it, the sequel comes out soon. Coming to America is a comedy classic. It is now available on Amazon, as well as Dazed and Confused. See Dazed and Confused if you haven't, and Moulin Rouge. Hulu got both American Psychos. First one's great, second one happened. Everything Must Go, a fantastic drama from Will Ferrell. Grosse Point Blank, I've never seen. Somehow I've never seen Grosse Point Blank, so I'm going to be watching that this week, as well as Mars Attacks. Disney Plus, WandaVision, Episode 5, dropping on Friday. HBO Max now has all 3 Austin Powers, all 4 Batmans, all 3 Matrixes, as well as The Four Feathers, an underappreciated Heath Ledger film, Stop Lost, an underappreciated Joseph Gordon-Levitt film, and Up in the Air, a genius Reitman film, which if you've never seen is one of the best scripts of that decade. So those are my streaming recommendations for you lovelies, and lots of comic stuff. I'm going to quickly refresh and then look in the live chat. You guys, apparently a little later, like a little after 4 is better for you, because we've had solid numbers today in the live chat and watching throughout, and I appreciate people. The numbers didn't drop as much for comics as they usually do, which means more people are interested in comics than usual, and that makes me so happy. So thank you, even if you're just appeasing me by staying here. I appreciate you guys sticking around for comic book stuff. Speaking of Comic Quirks with Jimmy, what's up, man? Seattle KO, I hope they pull it off as well. Mukbang! What up, man? Been a bit. Mukbang Reviews. Thanks for the analysis of WandaVision. What did the scene where they repeat for the children mean? Will that connect to Spider-Man Far From Home? Also, great review of Sound of Metal. 1, thank you. And for the compliments, Mukbang, I appreciate you. I was very proud of that review of Sound of Metal. That movie is a hard movie to review because it is so good and so heartfelt. I was very worried that I couldn't accomplish a quality enough review for the quality of film. So thank you. That means a lot. I think For the Children is about her children. For the Children is, I think she's gonna need to remember her powers at the end of the series when the dome falls. I think For the Children is gonna be some sort of sacrifice for the children, because there's no children in the show so far. We've not seen any kids in the town. We've not seen any in school. We've not seen any running around. There were no kids at the magic show. She brings in the first children. Also, where are the children that would live in that town? What's going on with the kids that aren't Wanda's kids? For the Children, I think, ties directly into her babies and some sort of sacrifice and something bigger. I don't think it has anything to do with Far From Home. It might. But personally, I'm thinking it has to do with her twins and the lack of children in this town. For the Children. Which, yeah, you're right. That is not a... that was repeated too many times to be anything small. It was definitely a piece of something. I think it involves that chaos for sure. Seattle KO, I still want to see Drew Goddard's X-Force. Me too, man. Me too. Drew Goddard's one of my favorite writers, and his X-Force sounded awesome. People are saying Garden State was solid. I agree. We talked about Zach Braff a little bit earlier. Sandman is Christine's favorite graphic novel series. Highly recommend. I haven't read it since high school. It blew my mind in high school. I think I'd get twice as much out of it as an adult. I need to reread Sandman badly. I haven't had the time, but Sandman has been high on my reread list. I reread Watchmen before the show, and I reread Animal Man before I recommended it to Yaya. I thought Yaya would love Animal Man, and every time I reread that book, I'm blown away. I need to do that with Sandman. I haven't touched it in way too long. Killshot 1, check it out, faux show. Michael McCarcel, good sir. I'm so glad Gwendolyn Christie is finally getting more work. I'm head over heels for this cast, same. I rarely do like a breaking must talk about cast list, but that one definitely. All right, let's see. Michael is excited to watch Soul of the Dragon, the new Batman. Hell yeah. He's talking about all the animated stuff. There's a lot of cool animated moving and grooving. I'm just so far behind, and I need to make time for Sandman before I watch animated stuff personally. That is where I'm at with my timing. Ace D, ooh, makes sense. They got to pay off the emphasis of screen time of For the Children. Exactly. It's going to be big. All right, everybody, this has been this week's Coy Cubed. Tune in on Thursday for a review of a French film that I'm doing for AJ Lancaster. The name escapes me, but I'm doing a French film review. I think it's the first foreign film. Nope, that's not true. It's not the first foreign film I've reviewed for Patron, but I don't do them as often, so I'm excited to check out a film in another language, review that right here on this channel on Thursday, and we're going to be doing a lot more Schmoedown stuff. I'm planning on having the Schmoes on this channel. I'm planning on bringing in some of my roster as much as I can for the purposes of talking Schmoedown, but also talking other stuff. So keep those things in mind. There will be Schmo stuff here. There will be movie reviews here, and also check out the podcast that drops tomorrow. Coycast drops tomorrow on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all that jazz. And if you haven't checked out my Rotten Tomatoes thing, it just got another little bump with this WandaVision week. So check out my Age of Ultron conversation over on Rotten Tomatoes is wrong. I loved working with Rotten Tomatoes, so get those numbers up so they call me back because I want to work with them again. What else have I got going on? I got movie reviews. I got podcast. I just did a watch-along of Mask of the Phantasm last week for the great Michael McCarsell. It was so much fun. That movie holds up so incredibly well. There is so much on here, and I love that you guys still think it's not enough. What up, Ed Devino in the chat? Kill Shot goes by too fast, even though we did an hour. Much appreciated. Death Star Kitty, Spider-Man Far From Home connection will be that Peter Billings, the character, is the robot and also the missing person. If that robot is a person, if that rabbit is a person, I will be shocked, but I'll be happy, but shocked. I think we just haven't met the missing person yet, the Whitpo person. I just think we haven't met them yet, but time will tell. Time will tell. Michael McCarsell says the best Batman movie. I think it's one of the best Batman movies, and that is hard because the Batman movies are like all of them are incredible except Bat Nipples. I think that's everything. I've got so much going on, but a bunch of stuff I can't talk about yet. So I will keep your eyes peeled for Schmoedown announcements. We had our first Schmoedown meeting today, and we're having another one on Thursday. I love those guys. I'm going to try to rally as many of them as I can once again to come on here, schedule permitting. Lots of stuff moving and grooving. So until Thursday, till Wednesday, till Thursday, we will see you Thursday for that review, and I will see you all over the internet with other stuff. Tweet me, follow me on Instagram, like, subscribe, do the internet things. All right, I'm tired. I'll talk to you guys soon. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here, Koi Pond.